clouds on, singing to that highway song. Got a little naive smile, the kind that drives you out. Nothing like playing with fire, brings boy to life. Beat you with a fuse you light, you're good, you're dynamite.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. 14:20 in the morning for this 17th day of November 2023. Today's show is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420POD at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase there at SeatGeek.com. Today we are joined by Dave of the new Era Sens Podcast to talk some Ottawa Senators hockey. How you doing today, sir?
Good, buddy, and yourself?
I am doing very well. The Ottawa Senators currently sit at 7-7. They won today over there in Sweden. A game they really tried to piss away a 4-0 lead, and they ended up winning in overtime today. Dave, what's your thoughts so far on the Ottawa Senators season? This game today kind of shows who they are. They're good enough, but then they're not good enough, and then they eked out a win today.
Yeah, it's honestly it's been such an up and down season. There's periods where where they look like they can really make a push for the playoffs and even compete in the playoffs. And there's periods where they look exactly like where they are in the standings. It's kind of a hit or miss. Today was a crazy game. It was a noon start for me because I'm out here in Edmonton, so I'm, mountain time. I didn't know that Ottawa had Jose Bautista playing on the team. That overtime winner by Tim Slitzel with 12 seconds left. Bam! Was a nice one.
That kind of pissed me off there a little bit that you're watching. I'm not going to lie to you. I watch Senators games when I'm allowed to watch them. And I don't, for some reason, there's the NHL app thing. But this thing with the global series they're having over there in Sweden, I found it odd today because they're trying to push the game over to Sweden, which is another story for another day. But how it wasn't not blacked out for people to see games in Sweden. It was on TSN 4, I think it was. What's your thoughts on the black? Because I'm in Alberta as well. I'm down in Lethbridge, and you're up in Edmonton. For games to be blacked out, what's your thought process on that?
So yeah, oh man. It drives me absolutely insane because it's like you can watch a game in Sweden that's in Sweden, but I can't watch a game here that's in Ottawa. Like it drives me batshit crazy. Excuse my language. I don't know if you guys.
We're a swear-friendly show.
Okay, good. All right. Explicit. More than 3 F words in one episode.
Well, we're already close to it anyways. It doesn't matter, yeah.
But, it drives me crazy. I remember when that NHL TV had to get NHL TV, and it costs so much, but you split it with 2 or 3 buddies, and it makes it a little easier. But at the end of the day, it's just like, why would you have a TV channel sit there for 3 hours and 0 broadcast? Just play the fucking game. Just play the damn game.
That drives me nuts because I can't go to Ottawa to watch a game, so why is it on TV? Like Winnipeg Jets have it, and the Leafs have it when they're on TSN and everything else. It makes no sense.
What drives me crazy is like I'm paying the NHL to watch because I feel like I'm being penalized for not living in the city that my team plays in. So I got to pay for all these subscriptions. I finally got fed up and just paid for IPTV, $120 a year. I have no blackouts. I watch all the games. So screw you, big time, TV networks.
Yeah, there's always around it. Before the season started, there was a situation out there in Ottawa, and it was well documented. It kind of went away a little bit. It got a bit of press, and then it went away. The Shane Pinto situation with betting and 41 game suspension half the season. He was unsigned. There was a reason why he was unsigned because there was probably an investigation going on. What is your thoughts on the NHL talking out of both sides of their mouth with the Pinto situation by being full on with betting? Because the Senators had the betting one of the betting sites on their helmets.
Yep.
That they've currently changed, and then they suspend the NHL suspends a guy for half the season for something. Like I said, they're talking to both sides of their mouth. What's your thoughts on the Pinto situation?
I honestly I can see it both sides of the coin. Where you're not supposed to gamble. I think the biggest problem was because he gave his credentials to somebody else to bet for him, right? Or that's kind of what the story is. We don't know the full story. 41 games seems a little harsh if that's the situation. Or if you're not betting on hockey, why are you suspending a guy for 41 games? And 41 games when this was a negotiated amount. From what we were told, they were looking at a full season suspension. It was negotiated to half the season. But like, if you're going to bring alcohol to a party and tell people, don't drink the alcohol, like people are going to drink the alcohol. Like, you're at a party. That's what you do, right? It's not exactly the same, but like you're shoving gambling down people's throats, especially kids who, even on an entry level contract, you're still making, bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like what, I mean, so he spends a bit of money gambling. Like, what do you think these kids are going to do with their money? Like, I don't know. It drives me nuts. Like, yeah, you're pushing this and you're promoting the shit out of it, and then you suspend somebody for 41 games. The good thing though is at least it's nothing severe where he can be shamed by the public or, has to walk into the locker room with his head down or be judged by other NHLers. A lot of NHL teams and GMs were actually asking the league for clarification on their gambling rules after this, because they're just like, well, we don't know what we can and can't do. Like, let's use this Pinto situation and figure out what our players can and cannot do gambling wise, right? So I feel like there isn't much of a stigma on it. I know they came out saying like he's seeking help, professional help, and stuff like that. I don't know if that's just the line that you feed just to kind of smooth things over. I mean, is he a gambling addict? We don't know. He knows. Other people know. We don't know. But it just doesn't seem like it'd be one of those situations. But yeah.
I felt the same way. Like when a guy's making X amount of dollars to play a game and everything else, and then you're told to not bet, but he wasn't betting on hockey and what the rules are. And I was like, okay, just don't bet, man. Like one of those. And then, but he got caught and whatever. It just smoked to all high hell, because you can't turn a game on without having a betting site, having a commercial on everything else. So it's just how it hasn't been all worked out. Like I said, if and you said it as well, if you're not betting on your own team or on that sport, who cares? Like it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre, and it happens right across the world of sports. A week and a half ago, the Ottawa Senators had lost a game at home 6-4 to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Tampa still I don't know if they're a powerhouse anymore, but they're still a really good hockey team, and they got booed off the ice. And after the game, team captain Brady Tkachuk, he voices displeasure with the fans of Ottawa for booing them off the ice. I'm not a fan of people booing their team off the ice, but I get it a little bit, because you pay good money to watch your team. The Senators have been struggling over the years. They're supposed to take the next jump this year. Was Tkachuk right to bellyache a little bit to the post game?
So Brady calling out the fans for booing, being the right thing to do, and fans booing having the right to do so, both statements can be true. So, like you said, 7 years of misery. A lot of these players haven't been around since the misery started, right? So, as Sens fans, we're fed up. And if we stopped caring, you wouldn't have 15, 16, 17,000 people sitting there watching the game. You'd have 10, 11, 12,000 people. So we obviously still care. We're still buying tickets. We're still going to the game. But we also, like you said, people put God knows how much, what the percentages of their paycheck into going to a game, right? Parking, food, beers, drinks, tickets. You're putting a big chunk into that, right? So like, yeah, you know what? After 7 years, we're fed up of it. But at the same time, Brady Tkachuk calling out fans, I got no problem with it. It's, you know what? He's right. They don't show any quit. They fight till the last whistle. They have periods where they look real sluggish, but like you could still see like they to the very last whistle, even if it's 6-2, like they're going hard. And so I understand why he's calling them out, but on the other side of the coin, he's got to understand like we have the rights to boo. Like we pay for this. We're fed up with this. Things have been changing. Lots of changes have happened, and we're happy about it. And like we have a bright future. Like we have a really good team, and like the kids are going to be good. But right now, it's just the fans are fed up. 7 years of this crap, and they want a winning team.
Management must have thought that something was going right with the team, with the youngsters you got there in Ottawa and the Senators team moving forward. And they went out and they made a free agent signing with Vladimir Tarasenko, and because he's a I don't want to say he's a great player. He's a really, really good player, and he hasn't quite hit his stride yet there in Ottawa. What's your thoughts? Like when they signed Tarasenko, it's like they're going for it. Like not a Stanley Cup this year, but I thought getting Tarasenko was, because getting a Stanley Cup champion in your dress, like it doesn't hurt having a guy like Tarasenko, and he just hasn't hit his stride yet. What's your thoughts on him?
So I like his game, but he's been up and down the lineup. They haven't given him a consistent friggin' line to play with. Like when you watch him with the puck, or when you watch him on the other side without the puck, like he plays really good. He's not putting up the offense that he used to. But again, I mean, it's a new team. You're 15 games in. You can tell he's starting to get to know the guys a lot better. So he's starting to predict where guys are going to be. He's starting to go where he knows guys like putting the puck. I think he's still gonna have a decent season. He was a good signing, especially at $5 million a year. Can't really say much about that. But I think
that's a bargain in free agent world, really.
Yeah. But I honestly think he took $5 million because he was going to come here and play with young guys who are going to light it up, because the expectations for the team were really high, and he's going to come in here, do really well, and then he's going to go fetch a 2-3 year contract somewhere in the States. That's kind of what we all think is kind of happening. Turns out he likes Canada. We'll see what happens next season. I will not be surprised if he walks out the door, but I also won't be surprised if he decides to try and stay in Ottawa if the money's right and the term's right.
You got a new owner out there in Ottawa, and he's he made some headlines last week of being a little bit upset with the sanctions he got against him and the fine he got against him for a trade that went sideways. And then Peter, longtime GM Pierre Dorion, he got fired for the whole debacle, and I think that was a long time coming. No matter what, it was going to happen. And you got Edmonton Oilers Steve Staios in charge out there. The Dorion firing, was that his fault, or is it NHL should have had something in line to make sure that, like the Central Bureau, whatever it was going to be called, to make sure that these trades don't happen? Because that's an absolute mess. And if you look at what what happened, you look what happened with the Chicago and their debacle that happened back in 2010. It came a couple of years ago. Like the sanctions that Ottawa got in comparison to what Chicago got, that must drive Senators fans nuts.
But I was so fucking pissed off. I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Like, we're not going to go."
It made me crazy, and I'm not a fan of either team. Yeah,
and I'm not going to go into the details of Chicago. Everybody knows what happened in Chicago, and essentially, you got a slap on the wrist. When Ottawa fired the GM, when Dorion got fired, that should have been the end of it. The NHL should have been like, "Hey, we're satisfied with what you guys did. You guys fired your general manager. There will be no other repercussions." That's how it should have been. But at the same time, he deserved to get fired. I mean, a lot of people wanted him fired at the beginning of the season, but just like DJ Smith, I think they've both earned the right to try and win with this team. Pierre Dorion screwed up. He's gone. DJ Smith is starting to get a little bit better. We'll see how long of a leash he gets, but that's another topic. But as for PD, he should have submitted all the paperwork, but the NHL also should be like, they should have all these things at a central location. Like it fell through too many cracks, and I think Ottawa failed and the league failed. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because everybody has interns in whatever office and everything else. I'm sure there's got to be somebody who's supposed to check this stuff. Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, this trade's fine. This trade's fine. Yeah, good. Because it would be hard with the salary cap and capologists and this and that. Everything's got to happen. I don't have this trade. I can only go to this team. It would be too much for one person to handle. And how Pierre Dorion became the fall guy, it's odd to me how it was just it was let go, and how it slipped through so many cracks. And the one guy who, like one person lost their job when a lot of people made mistakes on that situation.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you needed, like a face, like a face for the TV crews to be like, this is who was fired, this who was punished, right? You fire interns or guys that no one's ever heard of, no one gives a shit. You got to fire somebody with a face, and that's kind of what ended up happening. But anybody with the internet, man, could have just looked up cap friendly and seen that he had a no trade clause, or
that's funny you mentioned that, yeah.
Like friggin', I mean, anybody. I mean, you would think that a guy or a group of people who do this for a friggin' living, get paid to do this, would be like, there's a way to find information. What's on his contract? Like, I remember when the trade happened, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then when it clawed back, first thing I did was I went to Cap Friendly, and I'm like, Well, shit, I found this in 8 seconds. Why didn't anybody else?
Yeah, when you and I can find that information off with a click of the mouse or whatever it might be, it's crazy
Right?
how someone who's making, and Dorian's not making podcaster money, he's making real money doing the whole thing and figuring
Yeah.
everything out. And like you said, there's a fall guide no matter what how it goes. You mentioned head coach DJ Smith, and he's gone through the ringer a little bit, hasn't been successful, but the team is just here's what you are. And I'm kind of against firing coaches because the coaches you can only have what you have, right? And it's one of those things. But is it time for DJ Smith? Because every team, every coach, if they don't win, they get about a 3-year window, and then it's a thanks by see ya, because the GM, the draft picks, everything else that happens. Is DJ Smith? If he didn't win today and he loses, I think when they play again on Saturday, I think it is. Was his job really in jeopardy? If he got that airplane coming back from Sweden, was he going to get a pink slip? Do you think?
No, I think so. Obviously, you never advocate against a coach in public, but what happens behind closed doors is we never know. But I honestly think that the players advocated for DJ Smith in private to Steos and to Antlauer. DJ's system needs a bit of work. I think he needs to tweak his system to help elevate the team because his system doesn't always work. I think he's on a leash. In fact, I think he's got a dog collar on, and Steos is holding him by the collar. I don't even think he has a leash right now. I think DJ has earned the opportunity to try and win with this team. Like, he's been around.
I agree. 100%.
Since day one with a lot of these guys when they first came into the league, right? So like, he's the only NHL coach a lot of these guys have known. So my mentality is this: if they're in a playoff, if they're not in a playoff spot by after Christmas break, then you make the change. At Christmas break is where you decide everything.
The goaltending hasn't been great. I mean, they had a 4-0 lead today, and then they have been winning 5-4 in overtime, like we talked about earlier. Jonas Korpisalo and Anton Forsberg. When you got a goal against average of over 3, both teams, both goaltenders do, and their save percentages are around 900. To be a successful goaltender nowadays, it's a lot different than back in the 80s when if a guy had an 860, they were doing okay. But now, if you're around 900, it just doesn't cut it. And there's an old saying: "You show me a good goalie, I'll show you a good coach." Has the goaltending been a major concern there in Ottawa?
I think the problem is we've seen glimpses of like phenomenal goaltending from both goalies, so we know that they can play that way, right? Like, if you look at today's game, for example, 2 goals. One went off like an ass or a hand or something. Another one went off a skate. You know, these are goals that like you can't really help. So like the 4 goals against doesn't tell the full story. But that being said, there's been other games where, like, beer league goalies probably could have stopped some of these pucks. I think Forsberg is going to be a really good backup goalie. As far as backup goalies go, he's good. I think Korpisalo is getting to that point in his career where he's, hopefully going to age like a fine wine, where he's getting into that age and that comfort zone of his where this is where he's going to start to go up and be better. A lot of us were kind of hoping we would get something like Craig Anderson, where he kind of came in, in his mid-20s or late 20s and just was a really good goalie. 15 games in, it's hard for me to judge the goaltending. I've had games that I've loved to watch, and I'm like, man, this is phenomenal goaltending. And there's some where I was just like, I could do a better job in net, and that's that's not saying something.
Do you find that, we'll get off the Senators for half a second here, but do you find that goaltending around, like up there in Edmonton, obviously they had the Jack Campbell situation there, that turned into an absolute wreck. And then the Skinner's been a lot better, but do you find throughout the league that there isn't a lot of top tier goaltenders? Like there just seems to me I watch a lot of games, but there's not many guys you can hang your hat on and go, this guy is the guy. But compared to back in the like the Martin Brodeur days, like you look back years ago, you had Brodeur and you had Eddie Belfour and you had Patrick Roy, and on it went. And now you can't name 4 or 5 guys you go, that guy's a Hall of Famer. That guy's a Hall of Famer. It seems to me there's a lack of goaltending throughout the league. Do you agree with that, or am I just
no? 100%. No. In fact, I had this conversation on another podcast like last season, where I don't know if it's goaltending just in an era right now that's not great, or if it's just players just getting a lot better. But I don't like maybe like Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky is going to be a Hall of Fame goalie. That's a gimme. That's a gimme. But I don't see another NHL goalie currently in the league that is worthy of Hall of Fame. Or there's not a single goalie in the NHL.
I don't even see Hall of really goods right now.
No, and honestly, and this includes Ottawa's goaltending, like our own tandem. But there is no goaltending tandem in the league that I would be very comfortable going to the playoffs on a deep run. I'd be like, you know what? We got goaltending compared to these guys. We should be able to steal a game. Like, there's not a single tandem in the league that I feel comfortable saying that with.
No, it's absolutely nuts because every team had a great goalie back the years. Maybe it's just old man get off my lawn thing, and you have those back in my days, the laughs and talks, everything else. But yeah, you just don't see many guys. You go, that's the guy that we wanted in net tonight, because it just seems that they all, because I think the problem is, getting off base here a little bit, but they all seem to play the exact same game. They fall down the one knee, or they slide across the net. There's no real style. They're all taught the same way. And I think the players are getting smart to how all these goalies play, because all these goalies are taught. If you go watch a U18 or U17 game or a Western League game, maybe they all play the exact same way. So going upstairs on a guy, it's nothing for these guys anymore.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing. Back in the day, Hasek had his own style. Roy had his own style. Belfour, Brodeur, all these guys had such different styles compared to each other that it was fun to watch, because it was like they all went to a different school of goaltending. You know what I mean? And like, it was fun. That was fun. And now, like, exactly, you're right. It's very generic. I think they try and teach all the goaltenders the basics. Just basic goaltending stuff is what they teach goaltending coaches. I don't know what they're doing nowadays. I don't know if there's any good goaltending coaches left in the league, but they all
just seem to be big, and pucks hit them. And if they don't hit them, well, whatever. That's because I'm a goalie hugger from way back. So it's one of those things, like, pucks hit goalies now compared to goalies making saves now. Like, it's just one of those things you find. A kid that grew up in these parts, played his midget hockey here. Then went to Brandon. Ridley Gregg, injury woes, but he seems to be like he's not pretty good. He seems to be like a really good player. And then a son of Jeff Sanderson, who's a really good NHLer. Jake Sanderson, his contract comes into effect next year. The future seems pretty bright there in Ottawa if they can just kind of get something going a little bit. What's your thoughts on those two guys?
I think Sanderson's underrated in the league. The problem
if he was playing in Toronto, everyone would know about him.
I was gonna say, if he was playing in Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, or any of the big U.S. markets, everybody would know him. But because he's playing in Ottawa, he doesn't get the love he deserves. Like, that kid, man, like, he's so poised. He's so smart. Like, he's such a good defenseman. And at the same time, he still puts up the points. He knows when to pinch. He knows all that stuff. It's amazing to watch him. It's fun. Ottawa has not, like, it's going to sound stupid because, like, Carlson was Erik Karlsson, but, like, I'm not talking about offensive numbers. I'm just talking about excitement to watch. I get more excited to watch Sanderson than I did Karlsson, just because of I never played ice hockey. Okay. I played football for 11 years. I played rollerblade hockey, all that stuff. I always played defense. So I've always paid attention to the defensive side of things in any sport. So when I watch Sanderson and I watch him make beautiful, plays, like nice poke checks, or, he takes the man at the exact rate. He's always at the right place at the right time. And that, to me, is a sign of maturity, a sign of experience, even though he's only in his second year. It's just, he's probably one of the most exciting guys for me to watch. As for Ridley, when we drafted Tim Stützle, don't get me wrong, I was excited. I was really excited. But I've been following Ridley for about a year before that draft. He's one of those kids that I've always loved watching. He always brought that grit, and he kind of had that Brad Marchand feel to him. And I'm like, he's going to be one of those kids that everyone in the league's going to hate him, except for the team that he's on. He's got an offensive side to him. He gained, I think, like 22 pounds over the summer. So, like, he's put on some weight. I'm really excited for him because I think he's going to be like a Brad Marchand, but, like, not as offensively talented. He'll be like a really solid second line guy when he has to be, but third line is going to kind of be his permanent role. But it's going to be fun. He hasn't really played the pesky guy, like, since he's been in, so he hasn't really done that as much as he did when he was
still learning a little bit to know his role, like a little timid, maybe, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you watch the last 2-3 games before his injury, he was starting to get there. Like he was, he would throw a hit after the whistle just to piss people off and stuff like that. Or a guy would be skating by and he would take his stick and just hit the other guy's stick with his stick after the whistle. It was just stuff to get on the guy's skin. And I'm like, all right, he's starting to come into that Brad Marchand type role, and
He
it's going to be
kind
fun
of
to
had
watch.
because his dad started down here in Lethbridge for the Hurricanes years ago, and he was a great player. His dad Mark only played like 5 or 6 games in the National Hockey League, but Mark Gregg could score goals, and he was a pretty gritty player back then. That's a long time ago, but yeah, Ridley Gregg has that old Western League mentality here. Yeah, and those old Western League, like I think there's a lot of things will get you out of here. I know you got places to go, but you look at some of these, you look at some of these teams that build around certain guys and certain stuff, and then you see other guys that you still need a little bit of grit. Like the game is a lot different than it was 10 years ago. Like there
Sadly.
sadly, and I don't think it's better. I don't think it's a bad game, but I don't think that it's better. And you see a lot of skilled guys that don't do a lot more than go up and down the ice. They know exactly where to go. They shoot the puck. They skate and then done. You don't, and you need guys like Ridley Gregg. I think to have a chance to go over to the next level. And I had having more of those Western League guys. I know we're biased because we're out here a little bit, but having guys like Ridley Gregg on your team doesn't hurt the chance for your future, because the thing, and get into the business side of things, you're not going to have to pay a guy like that 10-12 million bucks later on. But those are the kind of guys that help you win championships, or help you win a round or win 2 rounds and go on to the next level.
100%. He's like I'm not gonna. It's a hard comparison. He's like a Wish.com version of Brady Tkachuk, where Brady can score, he can hit, he can fight. He's really smart. He's all over the place. He's a leader, and really kind of the same thing where you'll put up offensive numbers, just not in the same levels as Brady. He'll fight when he has to. He'll get under people's skin. It's I can honestly see him being, and I hate this comparison, but when Sean Avery was waving the stick in front of Brodeur, I can see him being that pain in the ass in the league. I really can.
No, he's going to be a really good player in this league. For the Ottawa Senators to be successful, and like you said earlier on, having been in the playoffs for 7 years, been a long time. Last time in the playoffs, they lost in the 3rd round. What's got to happen for the Ottawa Senators to maybe go to the next level? And who's a guy right now that you can think, okay, this guy has to overachieve for the Senators to go to make the playoffs? Because 7-7 right now, or 7-1, whatever it is. And you get into that time of the year where American Thanksgiving is the magical number, the tipping point.
Yep.
Who's the guy who's got to step up for the Senators, and who's that guy that you think the Senators need to rely on to get to the next level?
So I think offensively we're fine. Ottawa can score. That's not a secret. I think Shabbat needs to go back to Shabbat from 3-4 years ago. If we get that guy back, it's very important. Shabbat's a guy who needs to overachieve. He needs to go beyond expectations. Same with our goaltending. Goaltending is the same thing. Both guys need to be a lot better. I think our biggest problem too is some of our offensive players, like for example, Drake Batherson, not very good on the defensive side of things. So I just think that the defense needs to worry more about playing defense and worry less about scoring goals or whatever. They need to gain a better structure in their own zone. And forwards need to worry about playing a little better defensively in their own zone, because if you watch just today's game against Detroit, for example, in Ottawa's zone, it was disgusting to watch. There was times where it was just, I don't know where anybody was. I don't know what anybody was doing. Guys weren't even looking anywhere near where the puck was. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? So I think Shabbat really needs to be one of the guys that steps up. He really needs to be overachieving, and goaltenders really need to do the same thing. This way, offensive players, like I said, can help out playing defensively better, but they can also not stress about goaltending. They don't have to worry about who's scoring. They can just play.
Do they have the leadership in that dressing room to take it to the next level?
100%.
Because that's what I
yeah.
worry. I worry about teams with young guys. Like Stutzla's there for a while now, and not a while. He's a really good player. But is there that leadership in that dressing room to get him to the next level? Because they're Ottawa's not a sexy franchise to get guys to go and free agents, everything else. Do they have the leadership in that room to get him to the because winning around is nice. It's a nice thing as the Toronto Maple Leafs. But is there enough leadership in that dressing room to say, yeah, here's what we're doing?
So I don't know how much leadership you would really need, but Claude Giroux, very vocal, and he is a leader's leader. Brady Tkachuk, he's been really a leader's leader. Yeah. Sorry?
Giroux's a really good player.
Oh, man, I'm so glad that guy decided to come home. Yeah. Brady's learning a lot from him, leadership-wise, and Brady stepped up. He's very vocal in the room as well, too. A lot of people don't know, but like Travis Hamonic, he's very vocal, very vocal. He likes to, try and help the kids out and stuff like that. I think we probably have 3 or 4 guys in the locker room that's pretty vocal, positive, optimistic, but will chew your ass out, kind of bring that dad mode to the locker room. So could we afford to use or to get another vet with some experience, like another Tarasenko, but with more of a leadership quality? Yeah, probably. But who are you shipping out for that, right? Who are you getting rid of? Who are we going to get?
Go get Kessel. Go sign Phil Kessel.
I
don't know.
Fill the thrill on the fourth.
Fill the thrill. Fill the thrill. He'll eat 40 hot dogs a season and then get you 40 points.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing that out there.
I think he had like 12 goals in his last season with Vegas, which 12 goals on a fourth line would be good. I just don't know if he would come play in Ottawa, first off, or second, if he can score 12 goals playing with our fourth line. Because our fourth line is just, no offense, our fourth line is just not skilled guys. They're just they're bodies who will hit and fight. That's what that is, right?
But I think Phil's going to go. Phil's career is going to go with. It's too bad because I like Phil Kessel. He's entertaining to watch and everything else. He's had a hell of a career, but I think that one's going to go out with a whimper. He won't. I don't think he's going to play another game in National Hockey League. Like that's just the way it's going to go out. One of those guys who just disappears, and that's too bad. Dave, this is a lot of fun. I got 2 more questions. Are they a playoff team, and what year are the Ottawa Senators going to win a Stanley Cup?
Stanley Cup. 2025. Are they a playoff team this year? Yes, I think they are. I think they're going to get their shit together right around now. Things are going to start to pick up, and they're going to get their shit together.
I think they're a really good team with a lot of talent, and they're going through their injuries early. And this might sound ridiculous, but going through injuries early, I think that's not a bad thing because every team gets them. So get them out of the way now. And then have some things that go on, and I think they have a real shot at a playoff race. And I don't know if the East is as strong as the West. So if you can get into the playoffs, I think you have and as long as you finish in a certain spot, I think you have an actual shot at winning a round or 2 in the East. Compared like the West is pretty. Jesus, you got some teams out there that's kick the living hell out of you. But
it's crazy to think because I remember during the offseason, the Atlantic was the big talk. The powerhouse, right? Yeah. That's everybody talked about it, and I feel like the Atlantic is still really strong, just not as strong as they're supposed to be. And if you look at Ottawa right now, man, they're like 2 games behind. Most of the teams are in wild card spot. So Ottawa comes in, if they win the next 2, they're par. They play 17, 18 games like everybody else. If they do well, if they can get, we'll say 4 or 5 in the next 6 points, they're in that conversation.
And that's just it. It's early enough where you win some games and get going a little bit of a heater. And because their schedule has been really weird. They've only played, I think, 15 games as of right now because they're a little bit behind. And then they're going to come back from Sweden and not play for a week again, get the rest and everything else. So if they can get a win or 2 here and there, I think they got a real shot at getting into the playoffs. That's all and really, realistically, that's all you have to do because you win around and you just never know. I think that they're young and dumb enough to not know any better, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah. And another thing too is people are always like, oh, November is very crucial for Ottawa. And I get it from a mental standpoint why November is crucial for Ottawa. But go take a peek at the December schedule. It's friggin' insane. There's like a hockey game every second night. It is, I think their busiest month in the entire season is going to be December. And that's with a Christmas break. Well, Christmas break.
Yeah. 2 days here and there and everywhere else. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, Dave, this is a lot of fun. We'll have to have you on the show back maybe around the Christmas break, and we'll talk about how the Senators are doing. Hopefully, they're in the playoff spot. The more Canadian teams that are relevant come playoff time, it keeps people interested a lot more. When did you become when did it deep down inside? I always ask guys this: when did you become a Ottawa Senators fan, and how did it all come about? Because you're few and far between here out west.
Yeah. So first I'm born and raised in Ottawa. I moved here in 2012, but I remember as a kid watching Andre Roy. I went to a game with my dad. I watched Andre Roy fight Marty McSorley, and I was hooked. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Andre Roy. I'm pretty sure he lost that fight, but watching Andre Roy fight McSorley, I think was kind of where things kind of started off for me, and then from there I was just kind of hooked.
That's crazy. No, thanks very much for coming on the show tonight. And tell us all about the new Era Sens podcast. You're back on the Belly Up Network. What's going on over there with the new Era Sens?
Yes, sir. So, the Era Sens podcast, we were around a couple of years ago. We just revived it. We're on episode number 2, just dropped yesterday. If you could check us out, we're on all the podcast platforms. General Sens hockey talk, stuff like that. But we try to be a little bit different than all the other podcasts. Have all the same old information. A lot of them try to be professional. We're more like you guys, where we don't mind having that explicit check mark next to our podcast. With the Belly Up media team, those guys have been great. They're a fantastic place to be with. I know they're a good crew. I like Blaine, Mike, all those guys. Great team. But
no, they're a good group to have on our side. They go above and beyond the Call of Duty, I guess. I don't know. They put up with all my not crap, but I don't want to say I'm needy, but I'm a little bit needy sometimes when it comes to it. So no, they're a good group.
I'm the same way, and I don't know if you saw it a long time ago or how long you've been with Belly Up, but Rod Peterson once said Belly Up is the next Barstool without the douchebagness.
I saw that with Rod actually. I was on a show with Rod about not that long ago, and I think if we could have reached through the screen, we would have strangled each other. We'd had a different opinion. So it's one of those things. But Rod's a good guy.
I'm gonna have him on pretty soon. I'm gonna have him on the show pretty soon.
No, he's a good guy. He's a big supporter of the Belly Up Media Network. So there goes. Dave, once again, thank you very much for doing this. We'll have to do a collaboration later on as the season progresses.
You got to come on my show sometime.
Anytime, just let me know, and I'm always available. Talk to you later.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks,
man. Give Santa and his elves a break from the grind this Christmas season and ask for tickets from SeatGeek. SeatGeek has tickets for shows, concerts, and sporting events for around the globe. And by using promo code 1420POD, you'll save $20 on tickets. Tickets make for great stocking stuffers and gifts, so go to SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app for all of your ticket needs this holiday season and use promo code 1420POD today for your Christmas ticket. All right. Thanks to Dave from the new Era Sens podcast for jumping on today and having a great conversation about Senators hockey. A lot of fun talking with guys from the Belly Up Network and just collaborating a little bit and hear what the ins and outs of the certain hockey teams, because the Senators don't get a ton of publicity out here, don't get a ton of play. There's no getting around that. So thank you very much to Dave for coming on the show. It's greatly apprecited. And we're going to get on his show eventually, and we'll have a BS and everything else as things progress and they get things rocking and rolling over there. I listened to their first 2 shows. Very informative, very entertaining, everything else. So make sure you guys go check out Dave and the guys over at new Era Sens podcast. Let's get to birthdays, everything else, and enjoy your week. And we're getting out of here. Time to take some time off. I think maybe just not a whole bunch, maybe just the weekend. We'll see how things go. But I always end up coming on and recording something always gets between my ears, and I want to start talking. For those who know me, I don't mind talking. But anyways, here we go. Happy birthday to retired Major League Baseball player Nick Markakis. Markakis was born in Glen Cove, New York, but moved with his family at a young age to Woodstock, Georgia. Markakis was drafted 3 times. First to the Reds in 2001 from Woodstock High School. Then the Reds tried again in 2002, but he did not sign. And then in 2003, in the first round of the Baltimore Orioles, 7th overall after being named the 2003 National Junior College Division I Player of the Year. Markakis made his Major League debut on April 3rd, 2006 and got his first Major League start and plate appearance 2 days later, drawing 3 walks in his first 3 at-bats, and then he had a 400-foot home run in the 8th inning for his first Major League hit, a solo shot off a Rays pitcher, Dan Maselli. Markakis spent 15 years in the big leagues, 9 in Baltimore and 6 with the Atlanta Braves in total. Markakis hit .288 with 189 home runs and 1,046 RBIs in his career. Happy birthday to Nick Markakis. A little bit of perseverance will get things done, eh? It's fun to see when a guy bets on himself a little bit and doesn't sign. Think, you know, I can go higher. And then, but because things can go sideways quick on you, and all of a sudden you might get hurt or whatever might happen. You have a bad season, and then nothing happens. So to get drafted 3 times, there must be some kind of talent there, because usually Major League Baseball players might or the scouts might say, you know what, thanks, bye, see ya. Yeah, that bad word here and there, everywhere else. So congratulations and happy birthday to Nick Markakis. And on this day in 1985, the Philadelphia Flyers won their 13th consecutive game with a 5-4 overtime victory over the New York Islanders at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to boost their record of 15-2. The Flyers would battle back from a 3-0 deficit early in the second period, made it 4-2 after 2 with 2 goals by Tim Kerr. Dave Poulin tied the game with 3:25 left on the clock to send the game to overtime. Medicine Hat, Alberta native Murray Craven scored the winner 3 minutes and 52 seconds into the extra frame for the Flyers win. The streak would end 2 nights later with the Flyers travel to New York to face those same Islanders. They losing 8-6. The Flyers would finish at 53, 23-4, first in the Patrick Division, but would lose in the first round in 5 games, 3-2 in the playoffs against the New York Rangers that year. Those Flyers teams were tough, as you can see on the video. They didn't mind fighting back in the day, and that's when there was lots of Sutters playing for there. There was 2 Sutters playing for the Flyers, 2 Sutters playing for the Islanders back then. I wonder if don't know if any fought, but there was Rich and Ron were with the Flyers, the Twins, and then the Dwayne and Brent with those Islanders teams winning Stanley Cups like all the time back in the 80s there. But yeah, on this day in 1985, it's crazy to think that's that long ago and how much the game has changed in the last 40 years. It's 40 years now, or 38 years since that all happened, and how fighting was just who won, or were there any fights? Nobody cared actually who won. Anyways, there's today's show. Thank you very much once again to Dave, the new Era Sens Podcast, part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles. And like I say every day, and make sure you guys check out Dave Van Robe's his writing debut there on the 1420sportsbar.com. And Dave and I did a show last night and had a lot of laughs. It'll be up later on today, so make sure you guys check that one out once the old producer gets out of bed and gets her rocking and rolling for us. So that's it for today's show. Thank you very much for everything that everybody's listening all week long. Make sure you make us a part of your weekend this weekend. Listen to a few more shows, download, buy tickets at SeatGeek and everything else, and look at all our stuff and keep supporting the show. We greatly appreciate everything that happened this week. It's a great week here, as it always is here at 1420 World Headquarters, and we appreciate all the support that everybody gives us on a daily and weekly. And now, a few years we're into this thing now, so it's been quite the journey and quite the ride. And we're going to keep rocking and rolling for you guys, because we're getting nothing but positive feedback. We don't get enough negative feedback. The odd thing comes in here and there, but a lot of positive feedback, which we like. So maybe you'd see a negative connotation now and then, just to keep us a little honest, I guess, one of those things. Anyways, that's it for today's show. Also, I can ramble all day long, but that's for today's show. And thank you once again. And remember, it doesn't matter where you are, it's who you're with. Have a great day and weekend. We'll talk to you later.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network.